Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, InfyPower, Amber, StarCharge, and Eaton. InfyPower is the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. And Amber, providing modern protection plans for your Tesla's battery and more without the hassle of long-term contracts or upfront payments. Check out the link in the description to explore their plan options and use Spec 5 for a 5% discount on all plans. This video is also brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage and microgrid solutions. And finally, Eaton. Eaton is a one-stop shop for implementing reliable and innovative EV charging infrastructure at your site. Across all applications, Eaton's EV charging infrastructure, hardware, and software gives you the scalability, flexibility, and intelligence you need to charge today and scale up tomorrow. Learn more at eaton.com/EVCI. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You join me here at Fort Collins Kia in the northern Colorado area, our local Kia dealer. We're friends with these guys. We have a great relationship with them. And we came here because there's something potentially scary happening, both for the consumer and dealership side into next year for electric cars. And that is potentially electric cars are going to get a lot more expensive after January 1st or shortly after the new year. I'm going to explain a lot of what potentially will be happening in the market. And then I also have some insane lease deals to share with you if you're a local Colorado resident from here at Fort Collins Kia. They are basically blowing out their remaining electric car inventory. They have about 100 cars or so that they are just putting stupid deals on right now. And if you're thinking about getting an electric car, now is the time. I will explain in the video, I'll walk you through the deal, and we'll talk more about what's happening next quarter. It has been an interesting car market, especially the last coming out of COVID times, with electric cars leasing out incredibly cheaply. We have done some deals showing you guys Nissan Leafs for stupid money. We've done Kia EV6s, like Colton got one of those for like, I don't know, $160, $170 a month. EV9s have gotten really cheap. And so we came over here to Fort Collins Kia to say, okay, what's happening at the end of the year? And more importantly, what's gonna happen next year if the tax credits go away? So first thing that's gonna happen is if you live here in Colorado State, the new electric car tax credit is going from essentially I have the sheet right here, essentially 5,000 something. It's like 5,500 on a lease, 5,300 on a lease, but it's basically $5,000. Look at this. It's $5,000 on a lease or purchase. And in 2025, it's going to 3,500. So just that dip alone, you guys always ask, why does Colorado have some of the crazy lease deals? Well, that's starting to be diminished going into next year. So that will be lessened, which means if you're in Colorado and you're thinking even about getting an electric car in the next year or so, well, now is kind of the time to do it, I think. So that's reason number one. Secondly, EVs have become politicized, of course. We hear it in the comments. You guys feel it. It's a big talking point of the election. And it is very possible that the federal tax credit will be eliminated in the near future with the new administration. Now, whether or not you agree or disagree with that, what it means is there is going to be, regardless of your view on it, some short-term pain felt by the car dealerships that are holding on to electric cars. So what Fort Collins Kia asked us to do, which I think is a really smart thing, is they're like, hey, we don't want to come into the new year sitting on 100 electric cars that we're not able to sell next year because the lease deals went from, you know, $69 a month in that Niro to $469 a month. I'm just making up a number, but you know, that's the reality of what we're looking at. So they said, we are just going to blow out their roughly 100 cars, electric cars they have in inventory or coming in very short time period before the end of the year. They're like, let's just move them. So if you're in Colorado and you're thinking about a second car, a first car, this is the video for you. And I think the biggest deal out of all of these is actually the EV9. So let's run through some of the sort of end of year push that Fort Collins Kia is doing because again, I think this can really benefit you guys. Here's the sheet with the lease deals on them. So if you're curious about the cars, by the way, we have videos on all of these. I actually think the Nero's the one maybe we don't, because it isn't really new or updated in any significant way. But let's just start here on EV9, because I think this has been a hugely popular vehicle. We've covered EV9 closely. We've run it through every test. We've done everything with it. And, you know, we have them. Colton owns one. We had a long-termer from Fort Collins Kia. We love the car. Charges like a monster. Great range. Needs better software, but when you're talking about the numbers we're talking about, who cares? This is a 6 or 7 passenger, depending on spec, electric SUV with plenty of range, and it is clearly setting the benchmark of the best family SUV on the market until Lucid Gravity, maybe Escalade IQ, some of those vehicles come out. This thing is a $73,000, almost top spec, one down. It's a wind or land? Land, I think. What is this thing? Long range land. So it's got all the good stuff in there. It's $349 a month, which is absolutely insane. $349 a month. I sound like a car salesman, but I actually love deals and wheeling and dealing. But what I really love is getting our viewers the best possible deals. And by the way, this is not a sponsored video. They're not paying us. I was just driving by. I'm like, let's see what the heck's going on. And Mike was like, we're blowing these things out because I don't want to sit on them. He doesn't want to sit on them when there's no incentives left. So it's $2,000 out of pocket. $2,000 out of pocket. Are you hitting the unlock on that thing, Alyssa? Okay. $2,000 out of pocket. Includes all taxes and fees and everything for Fort Collins, which is one of the more expensive tax places in Colorado. And so it might be cheaper if you live in a different area of Colorado. I think Boulder is the only one that would be matching or just a slightly more. But essentially, yep, it's $2,000 out of pocket, including all taxes and fees, $349 a month, under $350 a month for this 2-year lease. That's where they can make the most work out of that incentive. 10,000 mile a year lease, of course. And so that's just crazy to get a $70,000 car for essentially $350 a month, $2,000 out of pocket. Next year, this car might be double that. It truly might be. I mean, just the Colorado credit lessening alone is going to add a significant portion of the payment. So that's pretty cool. We're going to go down and down and wait till you hear the Niro price. This is the Kia EV6 Wind, and good news. If you can zoom in right here, Alyssa, the high voltage battery is charging the low voltage 12 volt battery. Why you would need to know that? No idea, but they do that. It's funny, and we've made a joke about it over the years. Kia EV6 Wind, 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, pre-refresh. So it's not the new refreshed one. Those won't come till next year. But who cares when it's this price? Let me look. $2,000 out of pocket, includes all taxes and fees. Must be a Colorado resident, of course. Again, just mentioning $159 a month for a Kia EV6 long range, all-wheel drive Wind. Not even a super base one. Like, nice stuff on there. Okay, that's crazy. Totally crazy. And then we get to, if you're never going to go on a road trip, and you honestly just need around town transportation, actually you can go on a road trip in these. They charge it, what, 70 kilowatts or so, 74 kilowatts maximum, 77. Still very efficient car. The Kia Niro electric. I drove the Kona, which is its sister car, a little bit smaller, but halfway across the US, like 5 or 6 years ago when EA first went in. And they're just reliable, nice cars. I mean, the biggest problems you'll never run into on a lease with these, which is mostly the gearbox. But that happens at very high mileage on these things. And it's a single gear, of course, but they just have some issues with the reduction gear. Maybe we should do a video about it on the Out of Spec Renew channel one day. This thing, it's a $43,000 car, almost $42,450, which by the way in itself is almost criminally expensive as an MSRP. That is way too much money. You should never spend sticker on one of these things. And I unfortunately think there's going to be a lot of dealers stuck next year with cars like this on the lot. So it's a high price car with lane centering and adaptive cruise control and all the tech included, but this is a relatively base model. This one's a wind trim, I believe. $69 a month, $2,000 out of pocket. So $2,000 out of pocket, basically free, $70 a month, CCS charging, 70 kilowatts, lane centering, adaptive cruise, pretty wild. So I think, you know, those are the deals on here. If you want them, go to Fort Collins Kia. I'm sure they'll sell them very quickly because that's just insane. And I think the the feeling, the pressure. I have a lot of friends in the car industry, and I've never been a huge proponent of dealerships personally. I really love the direct-to-consumer sales model, but sometimes when dealerships get a little bit of pressure underneath them to where they got to move inventory, you really can get a good deal, especially if we're able to pre-negotiate and make a great experience for you. And a lot of our viewers have come here and had a great experience coming to Fort Collins Kia. We love working with them, but my feeling of people in the car industry at the moment is next year could be a really interesting year for electric cars. Even talking to some of the folks here, some people are coming in, they don't even care about the tech in the car. They don't care about the range, they don't care about the charging, they don't care about the software, they don't care about any of that. They're just like, I can get a $74,000 vehicle for $349 a month. I'll figure out how to charge it, let me have it. And so the real selling point for a lot of these electric cars that I would say are not necessarily class leading in any category, except maybe especially EV9, I think this is a really nice one, it's price. And that's where, like, when we did those Nissan Leaf deals, when they were, what were they, 20 bucks a month, something like that, those are all gone. The Nissan Leaf actually is more expensive than that Niro now, so I would go for that Niro on a lease. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But it's like, it comes to a point where they're so cheap, who cares about the tech in the car? And Kia builds a nice car. I mean, we've had very positive reviews of EV6 and EV9, and Niro's just a fine vehicle just to get around town with. So there you go. That's the situation. I'm really curious. There's gonna be so much to talk about next year with what's gonna happen in the auto industry, what the direction of every car maker is gonna be. No one seems to have it figured out. And except for maybe Tesla, they're just plugging along, and the numbers are looking really strong from what I can see. But damn it, you're spending a lot more money to lease a Model Y than an EV6 right now. I just get an EV6. These things charge great. Smokes it in the 10% challenge. So there you go. Thanks so much for watching this out of spec reviews video. Come to Fort Collins Kia. They're friends of ours. Again, not a sponsored video, but just insane lease deals that I love to tell you about. And it's a quick video, and it opens up an interesting talking point, which is what is going to happen when, and if or when, the federal tax credit goes away for electric cars and they no longer lease really cheap. Will there be stockpiles on the lot? Will companies go out of business entirely? That's feeling maybe even more likely than not for certain car makers. I don't think Kia, but Nissan perhaps. We'll have to see. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. See you in another one again soon. Bye-bye.